You're listening to a Pop House Network podcast for developers by developers. Welcome to Java OffHeap episode 89. Hey everyone, happy holidays, happy new year. This is our essentially first episode of 2025. It's going to be a fun one because this is usually when we do a little bit of a recap of what has happened on 2024. Essentially we've never seen all this stuff that happened coming. And we are trying to make punditry and figure out what will happen on 2025. So super fun episode. We're all being refreshed by taking the break. So we're back with the whole crowd. For those who don't know, my name is Freddie Giman, one of the distinguished principal engineers at Expedia, speaker, author, Java champion, Seattle Java user group co-organizer, and I'm here with all my friends. So
all right, hi everybody. Bob Paulin, Apache Software Foundation member, Java champion, CJUG board chair, and newly employed by Snowflake.
Ooh. Hey everyone, I'm Josh Juno, Jakarta EE developer, member of the Jakarta EE ambassadors, a Java champion, author, speaker.
Everyone, Michael Manella, director responsible for the open source Spring team at Broadcom, author, speaker, Java champion, and curmudgeon at large.
And before we dive in, we wanted to thank our sponsors. Today's show is sponsored by Datadog, a monitoring and analytics platform that integrates with over 450 technologies, including AWS services, Docker, and Kubernetes. Datadog's platform brings together metrics, traces, and logs in one place, so you can get full visibility into your environment and improve your application performance. With machine learning-based alerts, customizable dashboards, and distributed tracing, Datadog makes it easy to unify disparate data sources so you can troubleshoot faster. Start your free Datadog trial today. Listeners of this podcast will receive a free t-shirt once you install the agent and create one dashboard. Visit javaoffheap.com/Datadog to get started. And again, that URL is javaoffheap.com/Datadog to get started. We thank them for being sponsors. They keep the beer flowing and the mics on. So thank you, Datadog. Be sure to give them a try. All right, folks. So happy 2025.
Happy 2025.
It's another year on the clock. We've been doing this for a little while. And like I was gonna say, like I took a trip. The first time I went to Cancun, just to completely disconnect, and it was very refreshing, very warm, and having like all you can eat and all you can drink buffets. That was an experience. So super fun to come back. I actually got a tan. I'm losing it already, but it was great. How was all you guys' breaks? So
That was awesome. This virtual background I took a few years ago of Disney's Private Island. So that's Disney Fantasy in back. This is a private island. They got little boats there. However, give me a sec. I was able to recreate the same background for real. There's me,
Nice.
same ship, same beach, even little boats in the background. It's not laid out as nicely, but yeah. So that was fun for me.
Awesome.
It was a New Year's cruise for me and the family. So
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Get that good weather. Yeah, I stayed local. So mine involved just a little bit of sledding because we did get a little bit of snow. Just a lot of R&R. I had my daughter come home from college. And a lot of football. Watched a lot of football over break, which was great.
I just stayed local here, and I've got my freshman is in basketball, so he had a basketball tournament the first week of break. So I went to that few days, and then we decided a while back to segment my front room and kind of cut it in half. put a wall up so that we can have each of the kids can have their own room. So I was building the wall over break. So that was what I spent my time doing. Then I got sick, so that wasn't fun. So over the new year, I was sick, but hopefully that's behind and I won't be getting sick anymore. So that'll be good. It was a good break though.
Oh, that's fun. And with that, let's start diving in because we got some grounds to cover. So for the news, JDK 24 and 25 early access. Who put those in?
I put that out there. Definitely good times to start looking at, especially JDK 24, because that's the next one that will be coming out, right? Obviously, and it's in ramp down phases now. And this is something that, there are quite a few features out there. I think we talked about this on past episodes. We went through all the list of everything that's in this set, and I'm pretty sure it's finalized. Like I said, ramp down phase 2 right now, I believe. Or actually, I think that starts pretty soon here, but we're in ramp down phase 1 right now. Things like generational Shenandoah, that's experimental in this release. Class file API is going to be in this. Stream gatherers, and lots of other nice features. So definitely get out there and take a look at this at the early access releases and play with them. And then the same with 25. I don't think 25 has as much going on yet. Obviously, newer. I don't even see any JEPs on the site yet, but they do have a GA release out there, and I'm not quite sure what's included in that. There's not too much information, but
that's the next LTS though, right? That's why that one's significant.
Yep.
Oh, 25 is the next LTS.
Yep.
We'll see.
So I'm going to guess that lots of these things that are in third preview and whatnot, fourth preview in 24 will possibly be going final in 25. That's my guess.
Yeah, looking at 24. I know they usually, from what I remember, they don't usually release the JEPs until they get through like the actual release of the prior version. So I'm guessing they're probably waiting for 24 to actually get out the door. But yeah, there's a few like kind of interesting ones in here, like so prepare for restrict use of JNI, the warn upon use of memory access methods with sun miss unsafe. Because I remember, we had the show when they were talking about removing unsafe. And I think the wild thing we were talking about is like, okay, well, what would life be like now if they removed unsafe? Because you're starting to see like the makings of a lot of replacement methods for that. One of the ones we were mulling about was like memory segments, being able to get addresses of native memory that's being allocated by your direct byte buffers or whatever. And being able to address that without using unsafe and making that usable without any special code, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that they keep like I think on the JVM summit like 25 is not a target for Valhalla, but I know like they're trying to make inroads. So there might be some feature previews or not previews, so whatever they call like the first stab at it. Like Brian gets is like it'll get there when it gets there, but hopefully, knock on wood, we'll start seeing some Valhalla on 25. Maybe, we don't know. So.
Well, Freddie, they did permanently disable the security manager, so you can't use that anymore. Hope you're okay with that.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah. It's gonna, yeah. But it's interesting. So that one is scheduled for release when? The end of this year, right? 25?
25? Yeah, I think it's September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the 24 is in March, so usually it's 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gosh, I can't believe it. Like, we're still getting everybody on board 21. Come on.
I I had a conversation about a client today that was asking about a version of Tomcat that um, is baselined on Java 5.
What is
Gee,
that? 6,
really?
5?
5?
It was Tomcat 6, yes.
Tomcat 6. Tomcat 6 was around for a long time, actually.
It was. But it's also been gone for a long time too.
It has. They're like
It was
double
year
that now. They're
old.
on what,
It was
12
year
now?
old. I think
14?
year old. I think it was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Damn.
So,
Because they actually the community over code this year celebrated, I think, 25 years, I think, as a TLP in the ASF. Like, so Tomcat. Okay,
Yeah.
Tomcat, what, 11? 11 is the current, not 12. Or no, maybe it's 10. Oh, no, there's 11. Yep.
no, yeah, it was
Yeah,
11.
11's the latest.
All right. Well, at some point in time, you gotta move.
Yeah.
Gotta move. For security's sake.
Yeah.
Right.
This doesn't serve anything outside.
Yeah.
Do have struts. All right. Next one. Jakarta EE11 update.
So the update is that Jakarta E11 is not yet out. It was supposed to be out last year, 2024, and it did not get released. Now, what has been released is the core profile that's been delivered for Jakarta E11, and the reason behind the delay is a lot to do with the TCK because the working group is focusing on modernizing and restructuring the TCK, and it's taking a long time to get this done. But it's better to get it done now while we're kind of still in the early stages of Jakarta EE than to get down the road and just have a bunch of work ahead. So the working group is working on the TCK at this point, and hopefully we'll be looking at Jakarta 11 within the next couple of months here, talking about releasing the full platform and the web profile for
When
those.
you say when you say modernizing the TCK, what does that mean? Because each JSR has its own TCK developed by its own independent team. So, like, what does that
Yeah.
mean for when you look at it in an aggregate?
So from what I've read, it's including migrations from Ant to Maven build tools and test harness to Archelion test suites. So they're making use of open rewrite and just converting over from these old tools to the newer, making it more modern. That's from my understanding.
Okay, because I know like some of the TCKs are written in TestNG. I don't know if some of them are if others are written in JUnit, like all that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff. I thought it was a bit of a mismatch or a mishmash, if you will. I could be wrong, but um,
But if you got a full platform TCK, that's got to have an overarching, it's
it's got
probably
to be
running
orchestrated.
on Ant, right? And then so they're gonna modernize that and
Okay.
make it Maven, and then probably plugging into each of the others, whether it be like you said, TestNG or whatever. But in the end, they still have to, take the full
So
platform of the web platform.
so they're modernizing the orchestration of the individual JSR pieces, if you will.
Right,
Okay.
which kind of makes sense, right? Like right now they're just hodgepodge. It'll be nice to have like one Maven target, and it's like, oh, we're running all the TCKs, and they probably do that one right now, but it's probably like a collection of Ant with some other magic to try to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is right now to certify the platform, like it's an all or nothing kind of thing. Like you can't say just run this JSR or that JSR. Like if you want to do it's got to be like the way it's set up is this. At least is what I've heard. It's an all or nothing kind of thing. It's really tough to do.
It takes hours. I mean, you hit go and it takes a long time, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's what's happening. And the update on Jakarta E12 is that has started. The planning has started on this, and Jakarta E12 is right now scheduled to come out sometime in 2026. So it's not. We're not planning to see any. There's not going to be delays in 12. I think that they're planning to kind of work on that at the same time, since this is all TCK work that's happening right now for 11.
Anything big in 12 already like earmarked?
You know what? I've not seen anything major at this point. Right now, there's just ideas and research going on to see what would be, most useful. I've not seen anything major come out, in the discussions yet, except for, more putting EJB in the back and getting rid of
I've seen
that and
that.
making it
Yeah,
more
getting rid of EGB.
CDI forward, and people at this point moving forward should start to get rid, not use anything older. They should be using CDI for all communications in Jakarta EE now. So that seems
What
to be a focus.
what about a Java baseline?
I'm not quite sure, but I can tell you 11 works on 21. So I would
Well,
imagine
it
if 20,
works. It works on, but the
yeah,
baseline was still
right,
they uh,
right.
backed off on that and made the baseline 17.
You're
Yeah,
right.
that's kind of what I'm wondering is what will the minimum version? Are they going to stick with 17? Are they going to require 21? Are they going to? I mean, 25 will be out by what you're describing. Are they going to
Yeah.
require 25? Like, what's?
I'm not sure, honestly, but I would speculate that they would go with 21 because they made 17 for the requirement for 11. So 12, I would say they're going to probably stay with one back each time. So if 25 is out in September and Jakarta 12 comes out next year, then why not go with JDK 21 as the baseline? That's my speculation, though.
So that's your prediction for the
That's my prediction. Yeah.
All right. The next one, CRA is published. Who's that?
I think that was Bob's.
Oh, that could have been mine. I don't know that the CRA is still very, very hot topic in the world of open source. So and we've talked about it on the show before. So I'll just give a short recap. Is the CRA is a bunch of legislation that passed in the EU kind of a while ago, but now has been published and now is in effect essentially. As of December of last year, I think it was December 11th, that the provisions started applying. Not all the provisions, but some of the provisions came into effect. And basically, the key dates around this legislation, as it's about security, it's about reporting, it's about what companies need to do to make sure if they're releasing software, to make sure that they're releasing it securely and being responsible about dealing with security incidents. A vast majority of it is going to be in effect as of September 11th, 2026. And then all of the provisions, or most of the provisions rather, will be in effect by December 11th, 2027, as far as key dates. These apply to companies in the EU, but if you're doing anything globally and you have arms of your company there, if you're working in open source, open source tends to have to follow all of the global regulations as they come into play. So, the CRA is definitely something that is being looked at, and things that foundations and software foundations, including the Apache Software Foundation, are kind of currently looking at and figuring out, hey, how are we going to make sure that the stuff we're doing is in compliance, or we're doing things that may help users or the downstream folks be prepared for all of this.
We should consider that having an expert on to talk a little bit about whether it be Apache Foundation or the Eclipse Foundation or somebody to give a deeper dive. Now that, to your point, it is out. We're no longer speculating. Like, what does this actually mean, and what are people actually doing?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, I mean, we do have like parts of there are I don't know if it's an officer or working group. I forget the actual structure of it. But there are members of the ASF that participate in some of the forums that are held around CRA, so that there are people I could reach out to see if we can get one of those informed experts to kind of speak to some of the things that are being discussed that they can talk about. I assume it's public forum, so there shouldn't be anything secret. But yeah, that's a great idea, because I know my purview of it has been mostly just to be informed, to talk about it either on the show or as as in my role at the ASF for fundraising, of just what are the things that might cost us money.
I know Mike from the Eclipse Foundation has also done quite a bit of
He has, yeah.
stuff with it too. We've had him on the show as well, so something else we could talk about.
Yeah, this was very much in the infancy, I think, the last time we had him on the show, and now it's reality. So it would be interesting to get a contrast in that. To see now that the rubber has met the road now.
Or is in the process of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about the Cyber Resilience Act, but I am speculating that it's very much not dealing with stating any specific technology or anything. It's a very high level standard where they're saying you need to have this type of security in place for doing this, and it's probably not saying you need to use JSON web tokens or whatever. It's probably not telling you any technology specific that you need to use for securing specific pieces of applications and whatnot, is it? Or
yeah, of the parts that I remember, a lot of it's about how you report when a security incident happens. Okay. Which parties are responsible for it, for that reporting, and then just I don't know, Michael, I think I was interrupting you while I think of more things, but
yeah, so this is why I'd love to have somebody on to talk about this, is because I know the early versions of it attempted to set up almost like if you're in the US and you buy anything with an electronic cord on it, you've seen the UL label on the tag, the underwriter's laboratory, and any electronic device in the US that is sold needs to be certified by them. Mm-hmm. And the analogy early on was that they were basically trying to set this up for software. Now, to do that obviously requires an immense amount of audit and certification process that, at least in the early stages, was very problematic for typical non-foundation open source arrangements. And so I don't know where all of that landed. I think most of it has been moved away from. But this is why, like I said, I'd love to have somebody a little more in the weeds join us, because my understanding is Mike. Last I heard, Mike from the Eclipse Foundation was feeling a lot better about where things ended up, but I don't know the specifics about what that was. But yeah, to Bob's point, it's really about security and the compliance aspect of that as well. Making sure that you are doing the right things and whatnot. And so
yeah, and I'm gonna do it like looking at the Wikipedia. There was a response, and you can kind of see it, just as you say, Mike. Like the Eclipse Foundation, the Open Source Initiative, and the Document Foundation did an open letter for the Commission on the Cyber Resiliency Act, and then the Apache Software Foundation actually published a similar statement. But then there were amendments on December 1st, 2023, and then Mike Milinkovich just was quoted saying, the revised legislation has vastly improved its exclusion of open source projects, communities, foundations, and their development and package distribution platforms. It also creates a new form of economic actor, the open source steward, which acknowledges the role played by foundations and platforms in the open source ecosystem. This is the first time this has appeared in a regulation, and will be interesting to see how it evolves. So he put that in like the good news on the Cyber Resiliency Act. So it seems like there's now some exclusionary provisions that means that not all open source have to follow this particular not even guidance, but I guess like regulations.
Regulation.
All right.
So yeah. So That'll be good. Yeah, just to see exactly what it means, right? Because I think that that's kind of like the part, we kind of know that it essentially is a touching responsibility for like, like breaches and stuff. But what does it really mean if you're either an open source developer or if you're working on a company and you're just decided to include an open source library, which happens all the time. So, all right. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Next one. Data Volo acquired by Snowflake. Congrats!
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I got
yes.
another new job.
It's like you're back in consulting, changing.
No, it's not like that. Still very, very different. Yeah, no, so yeah, Datavolo got acquired in November. So I started there in April. So it was a fun, about a little over 6 month ride with them, and then along came Snowflake, and they liked a lot of the things that we were doing with Apache NiFi, and decided to purchase us.
Do you want to give the listeners a little bit of an overview on what, for those who may not know who Datavolo was, or who Snowflake are, like what?
Yeah, no. So Datavolo
tell us
was
about
building
those two companies.
Yeah, so Datavolo, the tagline was for the 10x data engineer, was kind of the motto for what we were doing, and NiFi as a platform is really about being able to move data around, streaming data into different systems. And the take that Datavolo was working on was building a lot of AI components for working with the data that was in flight, going from one place to another, translating documents into text, and to sending them to LLMs to be summarized, things like that. So working with a lot of different AI components. Snowflake, being a database company, is a primary destination for a lot of that data. So having a company that moves data and a company that stores data, kind of the marriage makes sense, so to speak, from that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
And like next time we see, we'll buy you around, you bite us around. It'll be rounds all around. So
sounds good.
Maybe my background is more appropriate for Bob with after being acquired.
Well, I think my background is all the snow. So I mean, that is the kind of the logo there. It's snow everything.
A tie-in, right?
There you go.
It's a snowflake. Great. So I guess the next one, I think this is you, Bob. Open Rewrite license change.
That was mine, I think.
That was
I think it was Michael, but yeah, we chatted about it definitely on Slack, just some of the implications. But go ahead, Mike. Why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, so so for those of you who don't know, Open Rewrite is a framework that is built to essentially take recipes that do refactoring. So it's programmatic refactoring, essentially. And so there's an engine that can run recipes, and then you write recipes to do the refactoring. So if you want to rename a file, you create a recipe that's the rename recipe, and the engine runs it. It's stewarded by a company called Modern. They, for a period of time, had proposed that they were going to donate actually Open Rewrite to the Common House Foundation. At the last minute, they actually pulled that back. So that is not going to the Common House Foundation. Modern is keeping hold of that. But in addition to that, they have changed the license, not of the engine. So you can still use Open Rewrite itself as a project to your heart's content, but they have specifically changed the license to a number of the open source recipes. And this became kind of a big thing in my circle, because one of the recipes they changed the license on is the Spring refactor, the Spring upgrade license. And so, so a little backstory. the CEO of Modern, John. He did used to work on the Spring team. He was the founder of Micrometer. But he has advocated publicly that more open source projects should write their own recipes and contribute them to open source. And so this is a bit of a play for him to kind of force that issue a bit, because Modern has essentially open rewrite as a SaaS. They've got a SaaS offering where the recipes aren't their secret sauce; it's running them at scale is. Whereas every other offering really in this space, the recipes are the secret sauce. And so Amazon's got an offering. Full disclosure, Broadcom has one as part of our Spring Support offering. And in all those cases, the recipes are really the secret sauce. And so this is a classic example of open source trying to find a monetary a business plan that works at the end of the day. It's tough. We'll see how this lands. It'll be interesting with this one because yes, the recipes are important, obviously, but yeah, I struggle with how unless the expectation is that everybody's going to write their own recipes, I struggle with the business model here.
Oh, and just to understand, I'm reading the actual like open rewrite, it is almost like a MongoDB license where it's like
yes,
you can use it on your own.
Good point. Yeah. So you can use it on your own. You can't build a product out of it. You cannot distribute it commercially, the recipes commercially. So again, it's very much like a Mongo or a what was one of the other ones that
ESL.
Yeah, that's a license, but I was trying to think of actual
companies
products that have made that. Yeah, exactly. Examples.
Yeah, there's several, like, so Elastic has done it.
I think Elastic was one
Redis did it. So it is the flavor of the month. Still, I mean, I think this was actually something we were talking about at the beginning of the year as well, with a lot of the license changes coming through, and they've continued. Yeah. So the one you're specifically talking about is the Modern Source Available license. Is that the one they've been flipping to? And they've been flipping from, I think it was Apache, right? Was there?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see if I can see the commit log and see what it was. Yeah, it looks like I see Apache, and it's now Modern Source Available license for like the Hibernate rewrite. Hibernate is, I guess, one example of one that was relicensed. And that's interesting because you've got, and I mean, this impacts any company that redoes their license. So they have it relicensed, but there's still an Apache project behind it. So if somebody had a version that still had the Apache license, wouldn't you potentially be able to continue to use that under the ASF license?
Yep. So you can take that version, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted. I mean, you see this model of the core product being open and all of the adapters that make it useful are commercial, right? Like MuleSoft is the classic example there, right? Like MuleSoft has been free for forever. Obviously, they've got some commercial add-ons to the core product, but by and large, people pay for the massive library of adapters that you get with MuleSoft. And so like this doesn't feel awkward, other than the fact that like the relicensing of the stuff that was already out there.
Right.
And like I said, John has been very public about pushing for open source libraries. In his eyes, should be contributing recipes to upgrade their software. So like in his eyes, Log4j should be, as they do a release, they should be contributing open source, open rewrite license or recipes. The part I struggle with that is you're getting mad at everybody else for not basically building your business. The people that really benefit from that is Modern, like at the end of the day. So that's the part I struggle with that.
Go ahead, Freddie.
I was thinking like that is kind of like the part that hurts, right? Like um and this is newish. Like I think that it used to be almost unheard of somebody trying to change a license, right? Like it started with, I think Mongo was the first big one that did it. Then Elastic was there. Then I still remember Akka, where it was not just a license change, but now you actually have to pay money. And suddenly you build something that, oh, this is free, it's Apache license, and suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I own $1 million or whatever it is, right?
Well, and
And
then they had Docker Desktop too.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
Docker Desktop was one of the big ones. That's it's like
oh,
talk
that's
about a rug
right.
pull. Like everybody was using Docker Desktop, and overnight it's like, yeah, your company X size, you owe me $1 million or 2 million
Oh
bucks.
gosh, we
Um,
we don't even get an email. We got like an uninstaller like deployed.
here's Podman.
Yeah, Podman, I was gonna say.
That was like, what's going on? I rebooted my machine and it's like, whoop. And then there was an email. It's like, hey, doc.
Yeah, and I mean
Oh,
this doesn't come close to approaching that, right? So I mean this
right.
is this
no,
is more
no,
of
it
a,
doesn't.
to your point, it's a distribution thing. When you read the license, it talks about, making the available as part of a third party service, distributing in a manner where it's the functionality is available to third parties. So it's, if
It's
you
very
bring this in and
Mongo-esque.
run it, yeah, if you bring it in and run it on your project, you're still
Benefiting.
okay. But once you start building a service to distribute it, then you've got some problems. Now from your end, like if they were doing Spring upgrades, which I think they were, and you were distributing those, that's the no that he's preventing with this.
He is, but even that, I mean, we have our own engine. I mean, it's built on Open Rewrite, but we have our own engine server, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that does it, and we allow customers to run um, their own recipes because every corporation has their own internal libraries that they're going to need to write recipes for. So you got to
Yeah.
let people bring in their own stuff. So there's nothing
Yeah.
stopping from a license perspective that I've been able to see. Granted, I'm not a lawyer, so take this with a grain of salt. Caveats be there, but I see nothing in that license that prevents people from just using our product to run those same open source licenses. It's just
Yeah.
I, as Broadcom, am not allowed to give them to you. You've got to bring them yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, and not to like, it's one of those trying to like think about where things are going. Is like, is this one of those things that is going to be secretly eaten by, for example, like OpenAI or Claude,
Yes.
where
So I firmly believe that the open rewrite that approach has a scale problem in that you need a massive amount of people to write a massive amount of recipes to be able to do the complex level of upgrades. The people are doing the best they can. Like we're in that game, so don't get me wrong. Like we have our own plans and whatnot. But like if you ask me, what is my bold prediction for 2025? Is that you can refactor as good as open rewrite by the end of 2025
yeah,
with AI.
no, it's
With
Like
AI.
it's moving fast enough. I think that's actually a realistic option, a possibility.
yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. Like and it's a great product and it does a great things. Like I actually use it a little bit for a couple of like toy things that I was working on, but yeah, like the more I think like creating a creating a or trying to have a business model when you have all these AI tools that are becoming better and better and doing the refactoring. Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's like
I mean, don't get me wrong. I will stand here and say that AI is not good enough today to do that. Like I've tried and failed. Like I know it doesn't work today, but it is accelerating at such a fast pace
it
that I
might.
fully believe that by the end of 2025, you know, grabbing Anthropic's, we were talking about before we start recording, grabbing Anthropic's computer use or computer demo, computer use demo, and asking it to clone your repo and upgrade it from Spring Boot 3.0 to 3.1. Like, I think it'll be able to do it
Damn.
this time next year.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting field. And I guess like the other question I guess is like, do we think that there's, oh, you know what? So here's a prediction. There's gonna be restrictions on the licensees for training AI. That's probably gonna be the
Ugh.
next part. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was Apache license, but now is, AI, close AI license.
Oh, so
Well,
you
one of the
feel that
what
projects are going to relicense in light of AI? I'm sorry, I
oh,
thought
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
comment was different than that.
Oh, I didn't even think that route. That's really interesting. So
Yeah,
instead
like
of
they don't want you to train your
excluding
AI with
ISVs,
my stuff.
including AI from training, yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I still like the open source part, and you can download and use my library, but don't use your AI
And train it.
software to like get
Hmm.
how I did my thing.
Interesting. I mean, as it is, one other thing that'll be interesting over the course of this year, I think, is the lawyers are finally going to get involved. I think there's enough money in AI that the lawyers are going to get involved at a scale where some like, I don't want to
Like,
say the brakes are going to get pumped, but like people things are going to have to be decided. Just for example, just go back to the example I just said with regards to like uh, having an AI refactor my code. That means it's writing code. What license is the code it is writing delivered under? Like I've already used that Anthropic to write shell scripts and whatnot. Can I use that in a product? I don't know because it
just
doesn't
gonna
come with
put
a
a
concrete
patch.
license.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's not. They're not saying like anything written with this model is an Apache 2 license. Nobody says that. And I've concretely asked, for example, GitHub with Copilot, what is the license of the code that is generated by Copilot? And they spin it around and talk about, like, well, it was trained on this stuff that was available and blah 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 blah. Like, I don't care where it came from. I don't care the lineage. I care about the end result you are giving me. What license are you giving it to me under? And
Yeah.
they don't. There
No,
isn't one.
I see that, going from a very small company to a very big company, there's a lot of policies and training that I
Yeah.
went through very recently. And, those all include policy. So they mean, Snowflake certainly has policy governing AI use throughout the company. And, I
Yeah.
can't speak to what any of that is, but I can speak that it is there. And I see that as a trend. I expect most companies are going to develop a policy for AI. It'll be interesting to see like
And
where they
this
draw the lines. Um,
can we as I will say every company I'm aware of has a rather conservative view on the ability to use stuff generated by AI. Is Snowflake like without getting away specifics? Would you agree that Snowflake has a rather conservative view on that and
yeah,
cautious?
I would expect they'd be the on the cautious end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Who shall not just copy and paste code to ChatGPT, right? That's and that is good advice, by the way. Like, even if you don't have an AI like governance yet, do not copy and paste your code to ChatGPT if it's work code. Yeah, you don't want to copy like paste the actual hashes or something in there or tokens. So, um, but yeah, no, so something to watch out for, like
You're worried about people passing hashes and tokens into ChatGPT. They've been doing it to Stack Overflow for decades. Who are you kidding?
fair enough. ChatGPT can just write it for me.
Exactly.
I just prompted API token equals and so yeah, so yeah, so we predict maybe there'll be a congressional hearing for one of these things, right?
Oh, that's
What
good.
what'll be
Oh, me.
interesting to see is if it goes, and I'll use a very very dated analogy, is if it's more like a Napster thing where it's just let to be unmanaged for a long time until it becomes normalized, and then it's like, boy, this is going to be really hard to reel this back in. Where it's like, how can we find a model where people can still kind of do this, but the other people are still making some money off of it? Once all the lawyers and the suing gets involved, I assume that's where it's like, okay, well, how can we get back some of this that is happening now way outside of our control with stuff that we built.
And the thing is Napster didn't have any money. All
That's
of these
true.
AI companies
They got
are
money.
very well funded. Exactly.
Mhm.
There's just too
have
much money going through this to say, sorry, you have to stop, which is what they tried doing with Napster. Like
Yeah.
they're there's got to be some middle ground there that gets worked out. It's just
All right. The next one.
in the meantime, buy your Nvidia and Broadcom stocks.
That wouldn't benefit anyone on this call at all.
Hey, hey,
Buy
that division
Snowflake.
that division. I'm just riding their coattails, man. Like
Yeah.
nothing that my division's doing, but AI chips are a thing.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, the next one we have Clips.io, Kotlin multi-platform libraries.
Yeah, this is just if you're into Kotlin, this is basically a website you can go to, klibes.io. And this basically just has all of the different libraries for Kotlin. And there is a nice sorting mechanism at the top where you can filter by Android JVM, standard JVM, Kotlin native, common, JavaScript, WASM. And there's a bunch of filters at the top as well for, the different categories of the different utilities here in the libraries. So just a nice way to select, download, parse through, and see all of the different Kotlin libraries. And this is in alpha, I'll say. So it may change, but right now, from what it's starting to look like, it's pretty nice.
That is interesting because it's like an intersection between like a Maven Central and a Spring Starter, where it's trying to like list the stuff that is available, but like
and you click on them, and then it does give you, in many cases, like the README, that you would get from the GitHub project itself. It almost looks like a GitHub page when you click on the different individual libraries. And, basically just gives you all the different information you need about them. And my favorite part about this, though, is that if you're looking through the libraries, there's at the top, the count is that there's 1,541 different libraries. You're not going to want to scroll through all these. And I can tell you probably about 800 of them start with K, so you're trying to find something that has to do with AI or that has to do with web, web application or something. You can kind of search through this and you can filter these out. And that's the best part, I think, about this tool.
But the cool thing in their FAQ is the website uses AI generated metadata to enhance search results.
Yeah.
Oh, there's AI everywhere.
It's everywhere.
But the questions I have, right? Like I love what he's doing, but now that we have like the CRA and there's like all this governance stuff, and there is like how do you get published here? Can I just create a repo and put it?
That's in the FAQ. That's literally the second question. How do I add a library? Libraries are added automatically within 24 hours if they meet the following criteria. Library is open source and available on GitHub. At least one artifact is published in Maven Central. At least one artifact is multi-platform. Must have Kotlin tooling metadata.json. At least one artifact's POM contains a valid link to the GitHub repository, either under URL or scm.url. So it sounds like they're just scraping GitHub for stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of CRA type friendly stuff. Like it's not like they're publishing an SBOM or anything with this. This is purely marketing, I think, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't. Yeah, like I haven't. Yeah, I never published to Maven Central. So there is like it's like like there's at least a standard where you need to make it at least to Maven Central before this gets slurped up, which is
that's a pretty low bar for the record.
We've talked about this on the show, especially, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go try that. Yep, it's actually pretty easy. The hardest part is just making sure somebody pushes the button to approve your domain.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
And it's not hard.
Saying that Maven Central, Maven Central is not a high bar.
So I guess the interesting question is because like technically you can use Java libraries in Kotlin, but I guess you kind of lose. There is that weird like interconnect because you kind of lose the nullability or the non-nullability like declaration. So I guess these are like
We're working on that.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping 25, probably 28.
No, 25.
We can dream, right?
No, seriously, it's for the majors in spring. One of the things that they're hoping to do is and in fact, Spring Framework has already merged the PR for specify nullability validation across all of Spring Framework itself. We're hoping to get it across the portfolio in the majors in 2025.
Nice.
Damn. So then
Not a pipe dream.
I guess then okay. So that was one I will have thought that was one of the big ones where you get that like kind of like friction between Kotlin and Java.
Yep.
But like if
No
Kotlin
routines.
Yeah, like if Kotlin also adopts like that the nullability, then I guess it's mostly like constructs like code routines and stuff like that. But on this interesting, like I'm not dissing it. I like it, and I think it's nice that you have it on the same language. It's just that I'm trying to figure out if we're gonna have another set of libraries that do the same thing that is on Java, just replicated in Kotlin.
I don't see a lot of that happening. I think there's enough interop where Kotlin developers are comfortable using Java libraries. I mean, we've been seeing Kotlin projects done in Spring for 5, 6, 7 years, easy. So I don't think that's an issue. Like this particular thing, it just feels like I think whoever mentioned it said it feels like marketing. It feels like the ability to illustrate, hey, Kotlin has breadth. At the end of the day, like I think that's what this feels like, because you can't just say Kotlin can pull down everything from Maven Central, because yeah, it can, but to your point, it's not idiomatic. So you're going to have those friction points. Whereas these feel like they are more blessed, where you would expect these to be less frictiony, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, interesting. Like again, I'm on my journey to Kotlin. Not quite a convert yet, but I can see the appeal. So
it's nice. It's nice. I've played with it. It's a nice line of language.
No, it is.
Yeah,
it is. All right. So if you're a Kotlin fan, make sure to check clips.io. Like everything else, check before you download or include on your Maven.
Or check that license.
Yep. Yeah, I checked that. There was one license, GNU Affero General Public License.
Yeah, that's a scary one.
Oh, is it scary? What is the Affero?
Yeah.
I never heard about Affero, so I don't know.
I mean, so I believe that's the version of GNU where because so Java, for example, is GNU with class path exception, because
right.
You're writing source code and you're making sure that that's, even though you're writing and compiling source code, hey, that's not a part of the system that it's running on. The class path is an exception to this, so that I can exclude that. And this code is not GNU, because it is an infectious license when you start combining it with things. When you have Alfresco, they start considering the network as one of those things that connect things. Yeah. So it's really like, if you're doing a SaaS and you don't want anybody to, or if you want like basically nobody can run your stuff, like it's
on a network.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's now all Alfresco. It's kind of wild if you read that one.
Oh my gosh! All right,
I almost want to pull it up right now, because it's like there's certain licenses that like you read them and it's like, yeah, that'll never be used with anything. It's like only by itself.
You said it's the you called it the Alfresco license?
No, I think it's Affero.
GNU Pharaoh, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was saying Alfresco was a Java-based CMS years ago. I don't know if it's still around.
Yeah. Let
I
me
wasn't sure if there
find
was any
that one.
relation to it.
Yeah, I won't be
But
using
yeah,
the
that one's
high.
wild.
Yeah, I won't be using the high efficiency library for creating QQ bots. So. So and it has the one that has the most stars. So oh my gosh, I don't. Yeah, yeah. Please check your license before you use these things. All right. So now with that, let's just close it off with what is going to happen in 2025. We are done with the news part, and then now is the discussion, and it's just like we have a very AI heavy 2024. A lot of things has happened on AI realm. Like I think it went very quickly from a toy to something that I and I'll be the first one, like we actually use a lot of the Copilot, and it's fun. Like we're starting to use it in ways that for example, what kind of we have some code, and we may ask to Copilot, what kind of design principles are we violating here? Or can you suggest better refactors? Or like can we make this more idempotent? Like and it will give you decent answers. They're probably 90% there, and then usually most of them are gonna be hits, especially if the if what you're asking is kind of like small. Like that's one of the things I learned. If it's a small and targeted, chances are that it's gonna work. If it's more of like, tell me what's wrong with this, they might tell you something that is not quite right. But yeah. So like I think 2025 has the or 2024 was the age of AI. I don't know what you guys think, and opening the floor for you guys too.
It was the introductory age of AI. I think everybody who hadn't heard about LLMs and hadn't gotten into it has now started to learn about them and is up to speed, and things are definitely moving forward with AI. And I think 2025 is where it excels and it goes, to the next level.
Yeah, I think AI is 2024 was when um, the hype curve. AI, they started their hockey stick. It was 2024. We are definitely, I think we still have to hit the peak, and then there's the rest of that curve that needs to happen as well. But there's a lot of money to be made, if nothing else, in the short term. But there's still a lot of problems that need to be figured out. Like we've already talked about licenses and what you can and can't train on, and there's a lot of devils in the details right now. We're definitely still in the wild west of this stuff. For me, for 2025, I really think, going back to what I said earlier, that the practicality of using it in our own code. Freddie, you already talked about that with Copilot, but using it beyond that to actually not just to help you make decisions, but actually do things for you. And so things like the refactoring, like I firmly believe that years ago there was we never brought our code together, and then people created continuous integration. We deployed infrequently, and there came continuous deployment. I firmly believe that there is a cycle coming where there's continuous upgrades, just because of the pace of software happening so fast. Java releases every 6 months, Spring releases every 6 months. Jakarta, I've got a hunch, is just from some of the conversations. They're definitely not ready to go time-based yet, but it definitely feels like they are chomping at the bit at accelerating things there as well. Like our industry is going to start moving faster and faster, and it's impractical for enterprises to keep up. And so for me, the big thing that I'm looking forward towards AI is that next round, which is continuous upgrades via AI. I think that's the only practical way that ends up happening.
Yeah, I I think it's finally coming to a point where, again, it's not only just the fact that I can interact over chat, but folks are looking at ways to integrate it to actually do other agentic behaviors for you, right? So it's not just, hey, let's have a conversation. It's, hey, do something for me. I may have to teach it how to do that one thing. And if I teach it and train it well enough and it can do that one thing, well, I can have it do that one thing. Is that going to be sophisticated things? Not necessarily, but things that I think are trainable and repeatable. We're going to probably see AI be more successful at that in the past. It always cracks me up, just like, people acting like they discovered AI, in 2024, 2023. And it's just like, AI has been around for a while. It's just finally becoming useful in a way that
Yeah.
common folk, even common developers, just anybody can start really using it. You don't necessarily need to be like a scientist or a mathematician like you used to completely understand and make use of it. Now it's really gotten to the point where it's been refined and can be used by developers, across languages, across skill levels, and be useful.
Yeah.
Bob, I think that.
Go ahead.
Bob, I think you're 100% right in that 2024 is the year that AI became approachable. Like before, you had to hire, if you want to do anything at a company with AI or ML, you had to hire PhDs to get anything done with and train your own models and whatnot. Nowadays, like that whole part of AI isn't a thing anymore. It's much more of an integration problem than it is a data science, learning about neural networks and all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, you can, and there's things you can do with that, but to be useful, to build things useful with modern AI technology, Bob, you're 100% right that like now it's just calling APIs, which any developer
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah, if you're pushing the edge, if you're working at OpenAI, if you're working at Anthropic, then you need to be a scientist. But there's enough out there that's open source and licensed in a way. And the other crazy thing that may have gone under noticed is the amount of data now that's out there and licensed in a permissive way where you can train your models on it. That's really been the explosion. The decrease in price of storage and the availability of certain research libraries and things like that of data that people can now use. It's that is another thing that even if you're at that, I'm not a scientist, but I'm also not a beginning developer, and I'm willing to write a little bit of Python and kind of go through and read some papers to figure out how some folks have put things together. Like, you can kind of do some stuff. There's enough data to be dangerous out there, even just as a non-scientist developer, like most of the folks on this call.
That's something that Neil Ford used to talk about, how he would go into companies and they would want to be like Google. They would want to be like Netflix. They want to be like, whatnot. And I hate to break it to the average enterprise isn't Google. The average enterprise isn't Netflix. And even if you are at Netflix or even if you are at Google, chances are, unless you're actively working on search or ads at Google, if you are actively working on the actual streaming stuff at Netflix, even there you don't need to be special. And that's one of the things that personally I would hope for this year is that people realize that you don't need to be special to be useful to use these technologies. You don't need to be Anthropic, or you don't need to be OpenAI to be useful in this stuff. You don't need to emulate those and hire the PhDs and whatnot to have a really successful foray into AI, generative AI.
Yeah, and I will add to that, like because the interesting part that I'm seeing is that right now this grew so fast, right? So the departments, there will be like an AI department or a ML department that it's kind of isolated, and it moved from the place where you needed to have like a PhD for doing this to, oh my gosh, now your run-of-the-mill engineer can actually use AI and ML, right? I think one of the biggest contributions of 2024 was like projects like Olama or Llama 3 or this like small large language models that can be run, you don't need like big iron to really run like, or the billions of NVIDIA chips to actually run these models. You can start doing things that are super interesting. And the thing that I see, like if you're a Java engineer or you're an, like the part that happens is that the AI and ML folks are extremely good at trying to fine-tune the models, do these things but at some point in time, this needs to scale out and this needs to actually run within a service. And it's one of those that is like, like the architects might architect the building, but somebody actually needs to let the bricks for the actual thing to happen. And this is kind of like the corner where we are. And it's not to steal like the AI and ML thunder, right? Like they actually, the teams have a good work to do, but you can start doing things like that will be impossible for them to imagine because you're the one who's close to where all these things happen, right? Like once I open like, and this is kind of like a revelation that I had, like once I open, oh look, I could create something that summarizes this thing. And I don't need a PhD or stuff. I installed, to be honest, I installed Spring AI with Olam, and then I'm off the races. And like 2 days, I have some kind of like Confluence summarizer for these things, and it's extremely valuable. And when you look at it, it's like it looks like magic. But the only way it can happen is if the run-of-the-mill engineer that knows how to stitch these things together can actually know how to use these tools. And these tools are now these days they are so easy to use. Like they're so accessible. Like Bob said, you don't have to become a matrix NVIDIA GPU expert at all. It's just download the thing, run it, and see what you can do with it.
Yeah,
So.
at Snowflake, they have chat completions in SQL. You could be a database admin. You could be doing this stuff.
Is the life of the prompt engineer over?
It never really began.
One other thing that I think that'll happen related to AI this year though is the works will start showing. I mentioned the legalities of this, but also things like Freddie and well, I think everybody in this call has run models on their laptop, right? It's in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do that at scale. The hardware you need is not exactly trivial. And doing that at the enterprise level where they want to keep it all in house, you're not going to get away with your regular servers that are sitting in your existing racks. Like you're going to hit warts where there's going to be performance problems that like you're only throwing hardware at is going to solve. Like there are definitely bumps in the road for making this real at the enterprise level that I think will also start to rear their head this year.
Yeah, that's going to compete with people not being comfortable with the data leaving their VPCs,
Exactly. Yep.
Their data centers. So it's like, all right, well, do we invest all that and keep all of our secrets and information inside, or do we, find a way to establish a trust relationship with certain providers where, hey, we can send some of our stuff over here, and then how do we make sure the stuff we're okay sending goes over and the stuff we don't stays put? Yeah, a lot of the warts, a lot of the little details about how you build an AI strategy for a company that's again looking to take advantage of the stuff you can, but also looking to prevent the risks that are inherent in sending that kind of information out of the house.
Yeah, no, I think I'll put it on the prediction that there's like I've seen like optimizations being done to get like decent models to run in smaller and smaller hardware. My prediction is there's gonna be some kind of breakthrough where suddenly you can have somewhat performant models not needing that kind of like huge iron to scale out. But it's a prediction. But I think I've been like kind of like there's rumblings on the community, like the AI community, that there might be some kind of way to actually do like fine tuning and stuff without spending all the actual hardware to retrain it. But there's still like papers that are being studied. But my guess is like because of the amount of money people are throwing into this, that something will happen in 2025 where suddenly even the smallest, like you have a very decent small LLM running in your phone. Like that's I think where everybody's racing to.
While true, I don't think that's a software realization. I think that's a hardware thing.
Could be.
That's it like and now granted that like my company's at the forefront of that bit, but like I don't believe that software is going to solve that problem, at least in the short term.
Well, you look at Java threads, that they've made them quite a bit better in their most recent releases of JDK. So that is software.
And how many years has the thread API been around, and it took for
I know.
like it's yeah, I personally don't believe that like I think when you're talking about what Freddie's talking about with regards to running models on phones and that kind of thing, at least models of any real use.
I hear you.
I think you're going to get hardware acceleration involved.
Yeah. No, but that we'll see. It's exciting time. I think like to conclude, like at least my advice would be like learn this stuff. Don't shy away from it. You don't have to read the papers if you don't want to. You can just start learning how to use it. There's so many examples. That's like half of the internet created examples on how to run your LLM locally and do something, right? So just get one of those and keep an eye out as you're working of places where you think you can apply some of that knowledge and essentially that's how we make contributions for this year on the LLM side of or like in your career growth, which is how can you optimize something that is manual but repetitive, that it's LLM friendly.
And yeah, I second that. And you should go out there and just learn the fundamentals. And it's easy to pick up the fundamentals and at least know it, because I think going into the future, I mean, a couple of years ago, everybody would say that, students in high school need to start learning a programming language because everybody needs to really kind of know basically how to program. Now this is going to be the new thing. People are going to have to basically know how AI works a little bit. You need to have some fundamental idea of how it works. But my prediction is, I don't know about by the end of 2025, but perhaps 2026. I don't use Google, Home or, Alexa or any of that stuff very much. Siri, it's not very useful to me. I mean, I can tell it to set a timer or whatever. It's going to be useful when I say, create me a Podman container that runs an application that does this and that. And you can talk to the thing and you can automate all of this using AI. That's going to be putting you into the HAL era. And I think that's coming. I don't know about 2025, but that will be coming shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
No, it'll be like, oh, there's a Jira item. Come on, Anthropic, fix that bug.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I see actually more of a turn off of what Freddie's saying is more specialized models where people are tuning them to do specific things. I mean, we talked about a little bit about, hey, can we get this stuff on the phones and things like that? Like, so the idea of having specialized models that do vision recognition and audio recognition, those are the specialized things that are smaller and can be put on devices now. But the LLM side of it, where it's like, if I fine tune a model that is maybe very good at one specific task, are there optimizations of that model where I can compact that to a point where I can run it on a common phone, on a common device? That I think is going to be exciting to be seen. Otherwise, it's software as a service, and you're worried about your data. So I mean, that's the thing that
and
would solve.
connectivity
And connectivity, absolutely right.
Yeah, because like I've seen things about like didn't NVIDIA just talk about some of the AI stuff that they're talking about with regards to self-driving cars and that kind of thing. Like it's got to run on the car. Like you can't
Yeah.
assume that the car is going to
Yeah.
have network connection. Like
Can't call.
that doesn't
Nope.
work.
Nope. And it needs a faster reaction time than your network latency. I don't want the brakes to be on if I'm lagging.
Exactly.
On my car.
No,
Where
I'm
does bandwidth
3G
go?
in this section. I'm 3G here. Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'll be the day. What caused the crash? Somebody was downloading a torrent on the car's network. All right.
Unrelated,
With that, I think we have all the kind of predictions that we have from the crowd. We wish you a very, very good 2025. Let's keep it going. It's an exciting time to be an engineer. So it's like let's AI all the things up. All right. With that, Freddie signing off.
Bob signing off.
Josh signing off.
Michael signing off. If you're listening to this first of all, be sure to follow us on Twitter at OffHeap. And if you're checking this out on YouTube, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
We did it!
Yay! All right, let me
Another
stop
one
the
for the
recording.
books.